Okay, back to our string methods. So yes, this is the twist. We said primitive data types do not have methods and are not objects, but there are methods available to primitive data types. That does not make them reference data types because they're still immutable. Whenever we modify a primitive data type, a new value is assigned to it. It is not changed. You cannot modify a string, for example. You would have to reassign it a new value. So that is important to keep in mind. So these we're going to look at some of the common string methods you'll come across, and I'll provide a link to more detailed string methods in the Slack community. So don't forget to check us out and read more on the string methods. Let's start with the length property. Well, let's start with length. Length, as it is a string method that simply returns the number of characters in a string. Let's create a simple example. Let's see, Math Genius, right? Let's create Math Genius. Women math geniuses. Let's see, let's go for Hypatia. If you don't know Hypatia, well, she was a genius. And you can look her up. If you want, you can put whatever you want. Ada Lovelace, Dorothy Vaughan, Sophie Germain. Let me know your female math geniuses that really inspire you. Well, okay, so we have Hypatia here. And now let's see how many characters Hypatia contains, right? Let's see. And how we use the method is simply put a dot and call the method. We should be getting the number of characters in our string, and we get undefined. Why is that? Did we miss something? Well, it's lowercase l, not uppercase, so be careful with that. And wait for it. And there we have it. There are 7 characters in our Math Genius Hypatia. Great. Next, let's look at slice. So the slice method, how does it work? Simply does it extracts part of the string and returns the extracted part as a new string. How? Let's see that in action. So let's call the slice method. So the slice method by default accepts one parameter or variable to be passed through the parentheses you see there. But you can also pass in 2. We shall look at that later. So how do we extract something from our string literal here? Let's say we wanted to extract script is good from this string literal we have JavaScript is good. How would we do that? Well, first we have to know the position of where script starts from and where good ends from. So we start counting, right? But we don't start counting from 1 as you might have been used to. We start counting from 0. So we start from J, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So our script is sitting on position 4. Let's type in our 4. Now what we should see in our console is script is good. Nice. So if you don't pass in a second parameter, by default the slice method extracts the beginning position up to the end, which is good. So let's say if you wanted script alone, how would you do that? Well, do a similar thing, but this time you pass in 4 where our script starts from, and then comma separating. Then why does T sit? Well, this is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So T is seated at 10. right? No need for space. And we should be getting script in the console. So that's how we extract. That's how the slice method works. It extracts part of the string and then returns the extracted part as a new string. All right, let's have a look at the substring next. Now let's look at the substring method. The substring method is similar to the slice method above, and it does quite the same thing with the slice method. In fact, let's copy this and see, and and show you what I mean by that. So let's change a few things here. And let's see what we get in the console. Just to make a difference, let's just add an exclamation mark here to see the difference. And well, we get similar results, right? When you, sorry, still the same method. Let's change this to substring, and let's see. Yes, great. So takes in the same parameters as the slice method, the end position and the start position and the end position. What's the difference? Well, the difference is the substring does not care about the order of the end and starting number. It will still print out or return the extracted string you want it to return. So we'll still get script. But for slice, in that matter, it does not allow that. It will in this case return an empty string. And wait for it, and there we have it. As you can see right here, we get an empty string. So that's one of the differences you can spot between substring and slice method. I hope that makes sense and makes sense. Next, we'll look at the replace method. So let's look at replace. Replace simply modifies a value within a string, right? You can change or assign a new value within a string. You can give a certain value within your string, literal a new string value. Well, that's quite simple. Let's create a simple example. Let's console log, call the replace method. Now takes in two parameters. The first parameter is what you want to change within your string literal, and we want to change JavaScript with J for JavaScript. And now what we get in the console should be J for JavaScript is awesome. Wait for it, and that's it. So important to know, just that first parameter, what you want to change, what you want to give a new value, then the second parameter is what you're giving it. So in this example, we took JavaScript, exchanged it for J for JavaScript. Another important thing to remember is the replace method is case sensitive. So you mess up any character, it doesn't know, you will not get a new value change. It will still simply return its initial value, which is JavaScript. It's awesome. But with a few tricks with regular expressions, which we shall look at later, we can use something called flags to ignore that. And sorry, important to remember, you shouldn't drop regular expressions in quotes. Wait for it. And there we have it. So that's how we use the replace method. Next, we'll look at to uppercase method. So uppercase. To uppercase method, as we saw in the previous video, is simply transforming our text to uppercase characters. Call the function, and there we have it. Now let's look at to lowercase method. It is quite similar to the uppercase. All we have to do is change the function name. And we should have small caps, lowercase wow in the console. Awesome. Let's have a look at the concat method. Well, remember us joining strings or concatenating strings with the plus operators or the plus equals? Well, it turns out there's a string method for concatenating strings. So if you recall our simple string concatenation with a plus operator, so you get hello world. So if you don't want to use these plus operators, we can use the concat method instead. So this is how it works. Then call the method, text in two parameters, the space, then there we go, space. Great. Let's look at the trim method. So what does the trim method do? All the trim method does is remove extra spaces within our characters. What do I mean by that? Well, let's see an example without using trim first. So as you can see in the console, there's this extra space at the beginning of hello. So how to remove this space? That's where the trim method comes in. All you have to do is call it. And that extra space should be removed. Nice. Next, let's look at character art or chart. The chart method returns the position of a character in a string. So what do I mean by that? Let's see. So if you want to know the position of your character, you have to know where it is located. So if we want to print out P in our console, we'll have to know the index of our P. Remember, we start from 0. So S is 0, A is 1, M is 2, P is 4, is 3, sorry. So if we put in 3 in our parentheses, we expect to see P in the console. And another thing, if you noticed, by default, if you don't pass in any number, it returns the first letter or the first character in the string, which is S, as you can see. Great. Next, let's look at character codat method. So the character codat method, this method, all it does is return a Unicode character at a specific position in a string. How? So we expect to see a Unicode character of 0, and there we have it. That's 116. So that's a UTF-16 code